Now to a development that's been hailed as a milestone for Canada's auto sector. The country's first full-scale electric vehicle production plant is now officially open. It's set in the town of Ingersoll. It's operated by General Motors with the investment of more than $500 million from the federal and Ontario governments. And the Prime Minister and Ontario's Premier both spoke at the launch. Here's what they had to say.
We're creating a whole supply chain here in Canada so that auto workers here in Ontario will be able to build electric vehicles with batteries made in Quebec from nickel, mined in Northern Ontario, and lithium from Alberta, with made in Canada steel and aluminum that is some of the cleanest in the world. And I can tell you that international investors are noticing.
GM is making history with the first full-scale electric vehicle production facility in Canada, which will be their EV hub for the Bright Drop commercial vehicle line. And our government couldn't be prouder to support GM's incredible $2 billion investment manufacturing and R&D with our own support of more than $250 million. And I need to thank the federal government who have matched our investment and shown their commitment to making Ontario a world leader in EV manufacturing.
The CBC's Karina Roman joins us live from Ottawa with more on this. So Karina, walk us through the announcement.
So today was marking the milestone of this plant actually going into production. So last spring it was announced that you had all this federal money, $259 million, provincial money, $259 million, plus the GM, its money towards retooling this plant and making it into an electric vehicle production plant. And so 7-8 months later, they're already ready. And so a lot of comments today about how quick the turnaround is. We're looking at what's called the Bright Drop Zevo 600. It's a delivery van. Already we're told that there are clients who want to buy it and use it. Verizon, Walmart, FedEx, DHL. It is going to ramp up production, so start small and then move up to have 50,000 vehicles a year being produced by 2025. We're looking at least 400 jobs to start, and that ramping up as well. I should mention this is part of multiple electric vehicle announcements that have been made over the past year by the federal government, by the provincial government here in Ontario as well. We've talked about retooling plants. They're also investing in the actual manufacturing of the batteries needed for electric vehicles, charging stations across the country, lithium that you need for the batteries. In fact, the critical mineral strategy that the federal government keeps talking about is a great part of this, because not only do we want to be able to manufacture the vehicles here, we want to be able to source the materials in Canada as well, as you heard there from the Prime Minister before you started talking there, Hannah. Now, Doug Ford, the Premier, did say that the market is going to dictate going forward that electric vehicles are the future. What's interesting, though, is he did sidestep questions over, while the government is providing incentives for plants to be made or retooled to actually make the vehicles, we're still waiting to hear whether there'll ever be incentives really like they have in some other countries, including the U.S., to buy the vehicles, especially from the common consumer.
And what else about this announcement makes it significant, Karina?
Well, yeah, obviously, saying something that's the first ever full-scale, electric vehicle plant, dedicated plant in Canada is a pretty big deal. But beyond that, this is tangible evidence of a couple things. A burgeoning industrial policy the federal government says is really necessary for Canada. We've heard from the Finance Minister, Chrystia Freeland, talking about Canada not being left behind. This is where all countries want to head, that it's a once-in-a-generation opportunity. It's tangible evidence of why Canada fought so hard to not have those EV tax credits that were talked about in the U.S. only applied to the U.S. because we don't want to, preclude investment in building and manufacturing here in Canada. It's why we heard at the public inquiry they were so concerned over the border blockades, earlier in the year in Alberta and in Windsor, because it was just at the time when they were trying to sign these deals. And so Prime Minister Justin Trudeau today saying that the reason Canada is trying to promote itself as being an attractive place to invest is not only because we have the workforce for it, but because we are a reliable partner. Here's what he had to say about that.
We've seen Russia as an unreliable partner. We've seen increasing challenges from China. We know we need to be delivering those raw materials from reliable, friendly, environmentally protecting countries like Canada. And there's a huge amount of interest in Asia and around the world at Canada being part of how we move forward as a world.
This is also, if we're talking about tangible things, another I guess, notch in the federal government's belt in terms of its climate policy. If we want to hit those zero emission targets, we need to move to electric vehicles. Not only the target of net zero by 2050, but the government has the target and a legislative target of having all new vehicle sales, light duty vehicle sales at 2035 being electric vehicles. So if we want that to be the only car, basically new car on the market for people, we have to actually start building them. So that's why this is also a significant announcement today.
Okay, Karina Roman in Ottawa, thank you so much.
You're welcome.